Welcome to Connecting to Spirit. In this episode, I just wanted to revisit a experience that I had many years ago. And I was just telling this story to a brand new Reiki client that I was seeing. This client of mine is actually going through cancer treatment at the moment. And I was telling her about when my husband was diagnosed with leukemia. I began to feel completely stressed out at the time. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what if my husband dies? And what if he, I don't think I can do this without him. At the time, we're going back 17 years now. So at the time, I was pregnant with our second child, had a young toddler, and our world was tipped upside down when my husband was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, short word AML. And I had also, many of you know this story, but I'd also worked at Starlight Children's Foundation for many years. And that meant that I had a history of, holding, many kids' hands when they walked through their cancer journey. And so the reality of it being terminal as a possibility was very real. So kind of went straight into what Brené Brown calls dress rehearsing tragedy. So if anyone's ever had a child and loves their child and kissing them goodnight, she talks about how we can suddenly go, oh my God, what if they were kidnapped? Or what if they died? Or we suddenly go worst case scenario and imagine, because we feel so much joy and so much love in that moment, something might happen to take it away from us. And it's kind of a devastating thought to have. And something we all do. I know Brené Brown shared a story about being invited to speak with Oprah. And so she's on the plane ready to go and be interviewed by Oprah about her book. And she rang her husband saying, oh my God, because I'm finally here, going to be interviewed by Oprah, something's going to happen and the plane's going to crash. And then he's like, remember your dress rehearsing tragedy, nothing's going to happen, you'll be fine. And what she did at the time was she started going back to a mantra of focusing on gratitude, what she's grateful for, brought herself back into the present moment, which is actually what we teach in the Reiki system of healing. It's about just for today, do not worry, do not anger. And then the antidote for worry and anger is coming back into the present and focusing on what you're grateful for. So gratitude as an active process can help switch off anxiety and worry. So back to my story. I ended up seeing a psychologist because I was starting to fall apart when my husband was first diagnosed. And when I was sitting in Zoe's office, she said to me, where is your husband now? And I'm like, because I was, in a flood of tears at the time, and it kind of shocked me. It was a bit of a pattern interrupt. And I said, oh, he's in the hospital, which she knew. And she goes, can you pick up the phone and call him? I'm like, yeah, of course I can. And she goes, okay. So she said, can we agree that there's no amount of preparation that would make him passing any easier if he passed away or if he was to die? Is there anything that you could do that would make that feel any lighter or any easier? And when I thought about it logically, I kind of went, well, no, probably not. And she said, is it okay that we move to deal with that if it becomes a problem? We work through that then. And I'm like, okay, because she said, right now, he's very much alive and would probably benefit from, speaking to you and chatting and, being present with him each day rather than me going to him worried about him not going to, whether he was going to make it or not. So it actually made rational sense at the time, logical sense. And so I remember in that day making a decision with my psychologist, I'm just not going to worry about that now. I'm going to take that worry of what if he dies totally out of my mind's, kind of just going to take it out of my mind completely and started focusing on the fact that he's here. So my story has a very happy ending. So my husband recovered fully from AML. He did a round of chemotherapy, 3 rounds actually, called the Big Ice back 17 years ago. So he's literally just received a letter, which I'll show you, from his GP. Not many of these get handed out. We did I know you can't read it because it's kind of backwards because it's on a camera, but there it is. You can see the evidence of an actual letter from his specialist, consultant hematologist, telling him that he's cured of cancer. So he's a AML survivor. What we found out later was that there was a very small percentage of people that survive, and his doctor he asked him a question, and the doctor was like, I don't know how to answer that, mate. And he's like, why not? And he said, because there's not many people that are in your position. So we are so blessed. But the point I'm wanting to make here is that we could have spent the last 17 years in that fight, flight anxiety of what if he dies, dress rehearsing tragedy, focusing on worst case scenarios, trying to pre-plan what would happen and what life would be like without Gerald. And I'm so blessed that I never had to journey down that path with him. We've had other issues that we've had to deal with, and that's just life, right? But I'm so grateful that we took that monkey off our back 17 years ago. And to this day, hand on heart, I can absolutely say I didn't live every day worried that cancer was going to come back or that he'd end up not being in remission initially. And as I said to my client today, we were very realistic about it. If he got a really bad flu or a bad cold virus, we knew that he had a history of leukemia, so we'd send him down the doctor. They'd order a blood test and give us the AOK. So then again, we worried temporarily when his body gave us signals that something's wrong, and we just double checked that it wasn't cancer, but we didn't live every day thinking that it could be his last, or that what if it comes back. Now, I tell you this story because it helped me so much, and it's helped many of my students that I share. I'm pretty sure I wrote about it in my book, but for my beautiful new podcast listeners that might not have heard me or might not have come into my world yet, it is just one of those life-changing stories that has saved me years and years and bucket loads of anxiety and given me a easy, logical shift in perspective that if you're going through a similar situation, my desire is that it helped me and it could help you too. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I haven't been on the podcast for the last few weeks because I did promise that I'd just start showing up as myself, not scripted, on video. And to be totally honest, it made me a little nervous. So if you've liked this episode, you want to see more, send me some kind of message and let me know. Share it with a friend, which is even better because I'll see that it's resonating because you guys are starting to share it with a friend who might find this tip helpful. And yeah, give it a rating, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. I release them every Friday. That's my plan. And occasionally I will do it early. So I'm going to release this one today. So I hope you, wherever you are, I hope you are trusting your intuition. I hope you're connected to the divine magic and mystery that exists in this world. And if you're not and you want to learn how to, reach out and I will get you started. I've got a free quiz that actually gives you, for a short time only, a free copy of my book, not the hard copy. This you have to buy, but if you want a free PDF version of this book that is small but mighty in the information it shares with you, all about Reiki, psychic, mediumship, healing. If you want to know more about that, that's my jam. Check it out. I will drop the link in the show notes for the quiz, and I've also got a free Reiki masterclass. So if you want to learn more about psychic or intuitive Reiki and the difference between learning my style of Reiki, jump in there and take a look. I will see you on the flip side. Thanks, guys. Bye.